2 words: be available. Because the investors always need to get a hold of you. And so we want to be available.
This podcast is for educational purposes only. Nothing you hear on this show is legal or investment advice, nor is it an offer to buy or sell securities. Always consult your own legal and financial professionals before making decisions. Welcome back to another episode of the Capital Flow Podcast. Got a really exciting guest with us today, Mr. Guthrie. So we're going to get into some incredible conversation. If this is your first time tuning in, appreciate you being here on the Capital Flow Podcast. If you're looking to raise $100,000 or more for any real estate deals, this is a show for you. We bring on active fund managers, active real estate investors to share their tips, tricks, and secrets with you, with us, so that we can all learn to be better capital raisers in the space. And the things that we talk about, it falls within one of the 3 pillars of capital raising. Marketing, how do you get in front of the right people and the right message? Nurturing, how do you build that trust so somebody's comfortable investing that $100,000? And then 3 is the sale, the pitch, the close. And so we're going to get into that in throughout these conversations. And our guest today, he's going to share some incredible nuggets with you. But Michael has raised over $80 million of private equity. $80 million. So really excited to get into it. Michael, thank you so much for coming down to the studio and spending some time with us today.
You bet. Thank you so much for having me.
So for our listeners, give them a little background. I mean, $80 million, that's a lot of money, and we'll get into that, but share with our listener a little bit of your background.
So I was in the military. I spent some time as an X-ray tech years ago. And then when I got out of that, I went to work as an X-ray tech in San Francisco and got introduced to the ATM business, where we were selling ATM machines to mom and pop stores. And as we started to grow that over time, my wife's like, I was doing X-ray and MRI at the same time while I was starting to grow that business. And she's like, until you eat, sleep, and breathe ATMs, you keep your job. And all of a sudden, I got about 10 ATM machines out there, and it was making more money per month than my 9-to-5 job was. So clearly I was eating, sleeping, and breathing it. And my wife told me to quit my job and go sell ATM machines full time. About a month or so later, she quit her job at eLoan, where she was selling mortgages, and came to work with us on that. And that's how we got started. And the whole thing about getting started in the ATM business, and she'd shoot me if I didn't share this, is we bought our very first ATM for ourselves on her credit card. So that made her the president of our company. I didn't have a lot of credit getting out of the military at a younger age, like 27. And she did. And so we got our ATM company started on my wife's credit card.
Wow. And roughly when was this?
That was 1997.
1997. Wow.
About 8,000 ATMs ago.
It's incredible. So lesson number 1, you listen to the wife. I think that's one of the things that got you started on the right path.
Completely. I always listen to your better half. They're going to push you forward and make you a better person. And actually, if you're truly committed to that relationship, that drive is going to force you to go out and actually open and knock on every single door.
So what was it about the ATM business that drew you to that in the first place?
Residual income, making money while I slept. You sell the machine one time, and all of a sudden it's making money every single month. And so the more you could add, the more money you could make per month. And I always wanted to, growing up, own a car wash or a laundromat, because it could make money when I wasn't there. And that was the whole premise of the whole business getting started, is to make money while we slept.
I heard a podcast a while back, and they actually refer to the ATM business as a real estate business because you need somewhere to place it. So for a listener that might be interested in ATMs, give a little background on what that looks like. What does it consist of?
So each convenience store has a specific amount of real estate inside, and it's just great that you say that, because all I needed was a 2 square foot piece of real estate, and so I'd be like, well, what is that costing you to have that floor space? And the store owner had no clue, they had no ROI and input on what that was. But if you went to a mall to rent that same space from a mall, they charge you $2,500 a month
for a 2 square foot.
For a 2 square foot piece to put an ATM machine. And then if you had a certain threshold income wise, they became your partner, and they would split the revenue. So after $2,500 in income, not $2,500 a month in income, after $4,000 a month in income, and they would be your partner, and they would share in the revenues on 50-50 on everything over the $4,000 a month that you made off of that piece of real estate. That's what they did to the ATM business. So for a convenience store, it was an easier sell because they had no idea what they were doing in that space. And you could sell them the machine where they could make most of the profit, or I would place the machine, buy it with my own money. The machines run around $2,000. I'd buy the machine with my $2,000. I'd go in and load the machine, and I'd give them, say, 50 cents a transaction after the first 200 transactions, and we'd charge $3 a click. So I'd be making $600 a month before I would give them any revenue. So all of a sudden I knew what the value of that real estate was for me. And so that's how we got started in the business.
So you didn't do many malls, it sounds like. You did a lot of convenience stores, gas stations, things like that.
Correct. I learned about malls later down the road. That's why I got to know what their real estate was really worth. We got an offer to do one, because Wells Fargo was pulling out of this mall in Livermore, California, or not Livermore, Stockton. It doesn't matter what city, but they were pulling out, and the mall had reached out to us because they'd seen us putting ATM machines in convenience stores all around. So the manager of the mall just called and said, hey, we'd love to have you put your ATMs here. We filled out the application. They came back to us with what it was going to cost us. And we were like, are we going to make any money? And let me tell you, you make enough to cover during the regular part of the year, but then you get to November, December, when Christmas comes and the mall goes crazy, and that's where you really cash in for the rest of the year.
So with a lot of currency and stuff, I know we're talking a lot about ATMs because this is fascinating to me, but it also feeds into what's helped you become a successful capital raiser. So with the market where it's at and people move into crypto and digital currencies, is there still a demand for ATMs? Like, what's your take on that?
There's always a demand for cash.
Okay.
You can't buy crypto. You can't buy any of these other things without cash. And even though we're trading crypto on ATM machines today, you still have to have an ATM debit card that's attached to a bank account that has cash in it to actually move in and out of crypto. So cash is always going to be king. The Fed reported a couple of years ago, just before we sold our company, that there's actually more cash on the streets today than there's ever been. And so that just tells me that cash is alive and well, and there's always going to be a need or a desire to have cash in your pocket.
Wow, that makes sense. Now, you mentioned earlier that you mentioned $3 a click, $3 a pop. And for some of us, I hate gas station ATMs for that reason. Did you notice, is there a different mindset around people that use it? Like what's the security there with ATMs? How can people justify being okay with that $3 a pop if they're pulling out $20?
Great question. The average user during our tenure of owning and operating ATMs, the average user was between 16 and 27 years old, and they'd use a non-bank owned ATM between 16 and 22 times a month.
Oh my goodness.
So they would pay the fee on the front end. They'd pay the fee to the bank on the back end. So an average transaction, say we were charging $3, their bank's charging them $2, it cost them $5 to take out a $20 bill. So they may as well take out $100 or $200, but they were only, most of the time, our average cash withdrawal per transaction was $48.
Oh my goodness.
Across a portfolio of thousands of ATMs.
Wow. But great business model, right?
Great business model. It worked out well for us.
Awesome. So let's fast forward a little bit. You did that for quite a few years.
We did that for 28 and a half years.
28 and a half years. And then you decided to exit, sell?
We decided to exit. We exited that business in May of 2023. At that point in time, we'd been buying and raising capital in the multifamily space.
Okay. Now, for your ATM business, were you raising capital for that as well, or was that all self-funded?
That was all self-funded, and most of the time we sold them to another operator who was operating their own route, and they just processed their transactions through us.
Okay.
So we never raised any money in the ATM space.
You didn't have to.
Didn't have to.
Wow. So what prompted that transition into the multifamily space in 2023?
Taxes.
Okay.
There's the four kind of millionaires, right? There's the one you make your first million. The second millionaire, you've got $1 million in the bank. The third millionaire, you've paid $1 million in taxes. And the fourth is you've saved $1 million in taxes by not paying them. So the getting into multifamily was we got into the multifamily for the sole purpose of parking our own capital.
Okay.
And eliminating our own tax problem. That was the only reason we got into multifamily.
And was there a specific reason for multifamily versus other real estate?
The depreciation play was a lot greater for the dollars that you put in the multifamily than you could get out of single family. We owned 9 single families at the time, and that just became a pain in the butt. And you couldn't really cost seg those. You could, but it really wasn't cost effective to cost seg one door. So it made a lot more sense when we figured out multifamily to go that direction with our money as a limited partner. We got in as limited partners, and that was our whole goal.
And share with our listener that may not be as knowledgeable about how multifamily business works, limited partner versus general partner.
General partners are typically the folks that go out and find the property, underwrite the property, have the relationship with the brokers, get the loans, get approved for a loan, and go out and buy the property. And then they bring limited partners in to raise the equity to actually go out and to buy that property. And when I say equity, they raise the down payment and most of the time the money they're going to use to improve the asset.
And what a lot of people like about the multifamily and any type of equity play like this, when you invest into an equity fund, you get ownership of that business. And so you experience all the profit and loss through a K1. And so that's why a lot of people I found enjoy the multifamily, enjoy the real estate, because they get in, they're part owner, but the general partner's doing all the work. So as long as they vet the right operator, then they can still reap the benefits of being a passive investor.
100%. And it's nice that, say they raise $6 million, you put in $500,000, you own that chunk of that asset.
Yeah.
Because you're only buying in as much as they're raising.
Yeah, 100%. Makes sense to a lot of people. And for those that it doesn't make sense to, we're here to make it make sense to 100%. Them, right? Awesome. So we were talking before we started recording of your first raise experience, and you just shared with our listeners that you got in initially for yourself. You and your wife were like, hey, this is the asset we want to invest in. You knew enough. You found a group, and you found some people to park that capital with. Share with our listeners your experience with your first capital raise, because up to this point, even through the ATMs, it was all self-funded. You never raised capital up to this point.
That is correct.
Correct. Okay.
So we've been deploying capital into a number of assets. I think we were in probably 7 or 8 at the time. Have put in our own cash in, and we got asked in the group that we were in by these ladies. They came to us and asked, "Would you like to be our partners on this and help us capital raise on this asset we're chasing?" And I was nervous, and I go, "Well, tell me about how that's going to work." And they explained how that would work for me and me and my wife as partners, and what kind of a percentage we'd get of the general partnership ownership piece. And so we liked that. So I literally got on my phone and started texting all my friends. And what would happen was, over time, when we were investing our own money into these multifamily assets, our friends had seen what we were doing and understood what we were doing in that space. And they're like, "Well, I want in. Well, if I'm not the general partner, and these are 506B capital raises, which you need to know the general partners on the team, or at least know a general partner on the team, you can't invite people just in willy-nilly to invest in that asset." So when I got asked, I go, I can now open this up to all my friends. So the friends in these other masterminds that I had met along the way, and other business partners that I had met along the way in the ATM business, I just started on my phone and go, "Hey, I know," I just put out a text. I go, "Hey, I've been investing in multifamily. I am now capital raising for a multifamily asset coming up. If you're interested and coming alongside us, I can now bring you in with me. Just said yes below and how much money you may want to put in, and I'll put you on my list. By the time I got
that was it.
That was it.
That text.
And when I got to letter G, I had like almost $8 million of soft commits. So I decided I don't need to text any more people. And that took probably 6 or 7 hours of my time I wrote the text once and then sent it. And individually, I didn't have a texting system. I sent it individual. I put their name at the top and put it together, and then I hit send, and I just kept going. And that's when I knew I have an audience of people with an appetite for what we're doing. So we went live on our first asset. We had a webinar on Tuesday. Portal was supposed to be ready Tuesday before we went live. Portal was not ready till Friday at 5, same week. So literally there's 3 days in between to let your momentum die. Don't let your momentum die. Friday came, portal's open. I'm literally texting everybody that had committed to this asset and sending them the link in a text to sign up. Here's the portal sign up. Here's the portal sign up. By close of business on Saturday, we had about $1.1 million raised. I get a call from my partner lady that said she could raise $1 million. And let me back up just a bit. So on the deal, one lady said she couldn't raise anything. The other lady said she could raise $1 million, and it was a $6.5 million raise. So that 5.5 landed on my shoulders out of the gate. So I was already nervous enough. And that's why I started texting people. When I got to about 8, I knew I had more than enough in soft commits that if everybody didn't come in, I'd get it done. But we had like $1.1 million raised by close of business on Saturday, like 5 p.m. Pacific time. I get a call from my partner. Hey, we may need to bring somebody else in. We're not getting enough people in the portal signing up. And I'm like, it's not even been 24 hours. Give me through Tuesday.
Yeah.
Sunday, $3.5 million committed. Monday, close of business. I had almost $6 million of committed capital. And by Tuesday, I had my $5.5 million wired and in the bank. And then I called the partner. I said, I'm done. Anybody else that calls me is going on a waiting list. I hope you can raise your $1 million. And she's like, what do you mean? I go, I've done my part. I just want to make sure you can do yours. And so I knew I had a waiting list of people that if we needed to, I could bring them in. But it was better for me to have people waiting in the wings, because if I was to get asked to be on another opportunity, now I know I have an audience for a go forward.
There are so many things we can unpack.
There's a lot there
that you shared. First of all, the fact your first raise, $6 million, that's insane. I think our first raise was a few $100,000, and we were scraping, right, Paul? Like, I mean, there was 3 or 4 of us, and we were texting our networks. We were doing everything, and we brought in a few $100,000. And even that's like fairly good for your first raise if you've never done it.
Absolutely, and I hear that all the time.
So how does... I want to get your thoughts on it. What do you think it was that contributed to that success?
Well, I know there's one thing for sure is we're running around with some fairly well-heeled people. That helps. But the biggest question and the first question I got asked was, how much are you going to put in this asset? Because that will tell the investor how much you believe in what you're doing. And so when I told him, I go, I'm putting in $500,000 on this investment. Do you know how many people put in $500,000 on that first investment with me?
Probably the majority of them.
4 other people. $500,000. My lowest investor put in $75,000. My average investor was $230,000 on that asset.
They want to see that you had skin in the game.
They wanted to see I had skin in the game. And across the 14 assets we've raised on so far, the average investment is closer to $300,000 across 14 different assets. So when I'm raising with other people and their average investor is a $50,000, $75,000 investor, and there's nothing wrong with that, because every investor is important. And I talk to every investor regardless of how much money they want to put in. I now have $1 million investors, and I have $50,000 investors. I even have some $25,000 investors. And they're all just as important. And you better make them feel that way.
I like what you just said right there, because I think it's easy for people, especially capital raising, to fall into trap of, hey, this $1 million investor is more important than this 25,000. It was probably just as difficult, if not more difficult, for that $25,000 investor to invest at 25K with you than the $1 million investor.
Absolutely. And I want to, when somebody's coming to me with 25 grand, the first question I ask,
hey, Dallon here. I have a special invitation for you right before we get back to the show. If you're out there raising capital or trying to, here's the truth. You don't need more calls. You need better ones. That's exactly why we host weekly capital flow workshops. Every single week, we bring in experts who show you how to generate more investor leads, accelerate trust in half the time, and pitch without pressure. It's not theory. It's what's working right now for active capital raisers in the trenches. No need to do this alone. Go ahead and click on the link in the description or the show notes below to make sure you don't miss the next workshop. Who knows what new idea or strategy could lead to your next investor. Join us live every week and plug into the flow. Click the link below to join us. And now let's get back to the show.
is that your last 25 grand? Because if it is, I don't want it.
Don't take it.
I do not want to tie up your money for 5 or 6 years, knowing that this could be a problem for you in a year. You could be fine today, but it could be a problem in a year. And I don't want to do that to the investor. And I will have that conversation with them and be very stern about that. I go, you will have to prove to me that this is not your last 25 grand because I do not want to take it if it is.
What you're sharing here is what I believe needs to be discussed in that very first conversation. Inexperienced people that are raising capital, I think they want to jump right into the deal. All the numbers, the features, look at this beautiful property, look at the pool renovations we're going to do. But it's so much more than that. So share with our listeners what that first conversation really entails.
My first conversation is not about me, and it is not about my deal. It's all about the investor. And what I've seen happen a lot is, as a capital raiser, I want to tell you how great my opportunity is, why you should do it.
It's natural. It's human instinct.
And the whole 9 yards. And the problem is I have no idea from where you're sitting in your seat what it is you need. Are you looking for a tax play? Are you looking for cash flow? Or are you looking for appreciation? And you know what's really funny? All three of those can coexist in the exact same investment I want to shove down your throat. The problem is until I know what you need, I have no idea how to sell it to you, how to bring you or share that opportunity. So for me, it's all my first initial call with somebody is all about discovery on who you are. Do you have kids? What's your family? What kind of capital are you working with? And what is it? What's your ultimate goal? Is it cash flow down the road? Is it cash flow today? Is it appreciation? Do you have time on your side? Can you wait for a payout or not? I mean, I'm working on a deal right now with a guy. We're going to get paid a little bit on the front end, but it's a 5-year wait for anything else. But the metrics, if everything goes to plan, it's huge. I have the ability to wait. I don't need the cash today.
Yeah.
The investor may not. The investor may need that cash flow on a monthly basis to maintain their household. So it's always better to understand what they need instead of selling them what you need.
100%. And especially when it comes to multifamily, the last few years, they're not cash flow machines.
That is correct.
I mean, you might make 1% to 4% a year on your money. So that discovery call, it's so critical. It's like that has to be the very first conversation. And we like to keep it short, like 20 to 30 minutes. It's just an intro call. Let me share with you a little bit about us, let's find out more about you. But to your point, if somebody's needing those retirement dollars and they need that monthly cash flow, we've had to tell people this isn't a good fit for you. Have there been situations that's occurred with you? And then what was the response to that investor?
Sometimes they want to push the button and say, no, I'm in. And it's almost like they flip the script on you and say, no, I'm telling you why I need to be in that investment. And I'm telling you why you shouldn't. And I would rather, for me to sleep better at night, I'd rather you know all the risks and all the ups and downs that could happen going forward, especially if you're going to shove it down my throat and tell me why I need to take your investment. Mm-hmm. And the other thing about this is I need to have a good relationship with the investor. If the investor is very antagonistic towards me, I'd rather not have a 5-year or 10-year relationship with somebody that's going to ring my phone and be a pain to me all the time. I'd rather and I know things aren't always going to go right, and we could have some ups and downs, but if we can't just have a conversation around it on what could or couldn't happen before we even get into bed doing a deal, I don't want to do a deal. I'd rather not do the deal.
People forget that you're in these deals for 5 to 10 years.
Exactly.
Like it's a partnership. You're with these people for 5 to 10 years. And that's why it's so important to have that discovery call. Because it's where you really determine that alignment.
Correct. And that's where you set the base for your relationship. And this is a relationship business. Most of my investors invest in almost every project we do. Don't get me wrong, after 14, we started having investor fatigue. And when I say investor fatigue, I think the returns weren't paying out like multifamily hasn't for the last couple of years. So people are they're standing by and watching it, or they're finding another asset class to deploy capital into. And it's our job as a capital raiser to understand what the investor wants. And that goes back to the discovery call. Are they looking for appreciation, cash flow, or depreciation? What is it they need? And then they tell us what they need. Our job's to bring it to them.
Have there been situations where you haven't had an opportunity for them, but you referred them to somebody that you trusted that could satisfy that need? Absolutely.
And the interesting thing is they typically won't invest in somebody if I'm not part of that deal. Even though I've referred them and given the blessing on these other folks, we ended up buying some triple nets because people wanted cash flow. We paid 100% cash, so now there's cash flow. It's not the best cash flow, but it's cash flow.
At least it's consistent.
Yeah.
So there's obviously a common theme here, and this is what we preach all the time for users that are using our software to help raise capital. It really comes down to that trust. Like people, we've all heard this. People work with those that they know, like, and trust. My take on that is I can know you and I can like you. If I don't trust you, I'm not investing with you. So, I mean, being able to raise $6 million on that first raise, you went to a lot of people in your phone, you said. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people don't realize that they probably have all the capital they need right there in their phone. They think they need to go to social media. They think they need to go to all these events, and that can help feed the pipeline. But your first raise, my belief, should come directly from your phone. So in your experience, what do you think it was that helped attribute to that trust to be able to raise capital that efficiently?
Well, there's a couple of things. I think anytime you're speaking, anytime you're in a room, anytime you're at the bar, a dinner, people are always watching how you treat others, how you treat the staff, how you treat the maitre d', whoever parks your car, and they're watching you. I've spoken on a number of stages, and I say you're always being interviewed, whether somebody's asking you questions or not, because people are watching your actions. They're watching how you handle yourself. They're watching the way you speak to others. So they're not going to they may not trust you one-on-one yet, but as they see you interact with others and you interact the same way all the time, that builds rapport, that builds trust, that builds respect, that builds integrity. And I think integrity isn't just doing the right thing when nobody's watching, it's doing the right thing all the time. Whether somebody's watching, whether somebody's not. Like if I say, I'm going to go to the gym 4 times a week, and I don't, I'm out of integrity with myself, but you have no idea I'm out of integrity with myself. But as you get to know me and you see, he said he was going to call at 1, but he didn't call till 1:30. And then the next time I'm supposed to be here at 1 and I don't show up till 1:20. I start to get out of integrity with you. And you go, okay, if he's out of integrity on time with me on these little things, is he out of integrity with me on a lot of other things? So you want to make sure when you commit to something, you are in integrity with yourself and the other person that's party to that involvement.
That piece is critical. And one word that came to mind as you were sharing that was consistency. You've got to be consistent day in, day out. People are watching you.
Always.
People are always watching you. And this this deal that you raised capital for, how long had you been investing in the multifamily space before you turned to your network and started raising capital?
5 months.
Okay. So I bring this up, and that I was under the impression it was that short of a time frame. I bring this up because I think a lot of people feel like they need to have years of experience in that space before they can effectively raise capital. What are your thoughts around that?
My thoughts are, you've already had years of experience being around those people. So who do they think you are before you bring them the deal? That's the important piece, is who have you become to the investor prior. So 5 months in the deal in investing in multifamily, I started investing as a limited partner just to put our own money out there and to understand the deals. And doing that, by the time I got asked to come on a team and raise capital, I understood the inner workings of the deals because I had already been doing the deals. So that's important. And your interactions with people all the time. It doesn't matter. You could sign up tomorrow and start raising capital and have never touched the asset class with your current circle of friends and family, just because of the relationship you already have. And if they don't trust you now, they're not going to trust you later.
That's huge. It takes time. You had years, plenty of relationships, and started investing on your own. 5 months later, you brought other people along for the ride. And I think that's another good way to look at it, is it was an invitation. You weren't saying, hey, you have to invest in this. You said, hey, I'm investing in this. Here's an opportunity. You've seen what I've been doing. If you'd like to come with me, just say yes.
Absolutely.
Say yes or no.
Raise your hand.
Raise your hand, right? So you allow them to opt in. And that's sales. People, I think, have this wrong idea, false idea of what sales is, and it's cramming something down someone's throat that they don't want, but that's not the reality of it. So how has your understanding, your vision of sales kind of evolved as you've gotten more involved with capital raising?
I think it's more of I'm sharing an opportunity with you, and you get to come alongside or you don't get to come alongside. And I'm going to report back to you whether you came alongside or not, how this actually worked out long term. And so we share stuff across in our newsletters on how things are going. And people are like, man, I wished I had jumped in on that. Hey, there might be another one coming. I'll keep your name in mind. But you have to continue to be consistent and continue to show your progress. This is the first deal. We only had so many people come in on it. The next deal on our list, we had a few more people that had interest from our list. And the more deals we do, the more interest from our list we get. And I think that's because the first one, they're like, is this just a one-off? Are they for real?
What kind of multi-level marketing scheme are they getting?
What program did they sign up for this week?
Yeah.
Kind of a deal. But I think the consistency and staying involved and staying in it long term, people start to go, this is actually what they're doing. This is who they are now. I mean, everybody knew us as me and my wife as the ATM king and queen. Now she's doing some energy work, and I've been raising capital and managing real estate. Good for us, but we're consistent. We're not bebopping all over the place going, here's the new widget. Oh, would you like to buy some water today? We're selling water. No, we're consistent in our messaging. We're consistent in what we're doing, and it's consistency. And if you're going to put this out on the web, you better be consistent with your message. Your stuff, your socials better all line up. They should look the same. They should feel the same, and they should all sound the same. Don't go being personally at the park drunk on a Friday night at the baseball game and post that on your social and hope that people don't see that piece, but they just see your piece about raising capital or being in real estate or being in another asset class.
What I found is consistency builds confidence.
100%.
And we as human beings, I think we have the tendency to bounce around from idea to idea, especially those of us that are entrepreneurs and we have, whether it's diagnosed or self-diagnosed ADHD, right? We're always looking for the next thing. So people want to know that you're committed. And this became really apparent to me a few months, it's probably about 6 months into my real estate journey, I had friends that I graduated high school from, people I haven't talked to in years. And when I say years, like 10 plus years, reaching out and saying, hey, Dallon, I've seen what you've been doing. In fact, Paul, the co-founder of Capitalist Pro, he was one of them. Yeah, he was watching what I had been doing, and because I was sharing with people, sharing like the things that I was learning. I wasn't selling anyone. I was just sharing the lessons I learned and inviting people to want to learn more. And so people watch that, they see that, and naturally you attract those types of people. Now, I have this mission when it comes to raising capital to attract capital, not raise capital.
100%.
So let me get your thoughts on that. What's the difference between attracting capital and raising capital?
Raising capital is going out to the public with an offering and hoping that somebody comes alongside you. And that's going out to a fresh, I think it's going out to a fresh audience and with the desire to raise capital from them. Attracting capital is the people that you surround yourself with. And as you create a community and a group and an investor list, you're attracting that capital to come to you. Like, I didn't even know I had an attraction for people to come to me.
You didn't know you were attractive, huh?
I didn't know. I had no idea. I mean, I have a face and body for radio. I'm not sure why I'm on camera here, but I had no idea that we could attract that kind of capital, or people had that kind of trust in us. And I think to attract capital, they have to feel that trust and honesty from you. Like, I'll go to a number of meetings, and I'm sure you go to similar ones where there's just a bunch of real estate folks running around the room handing out business cards to all of us. And the next thing you know, we get home and we get spammed by 8 or 10 different people because they collected business cards and they think they're going to raise capital from you or me. I go to these kind of meetings where there's 200 or 300 people in the room, and I'll meet 6 or 8 people, and I'll know about you, I'll know about your kids, I'll know about your family. So when I reach out to you, it's a completely different feeling, and it's about feelings. We have the human and we have the being, and when you connect on the being level, you can attract the capital. You're not going to attract capital by just going head to head with somebody. Heart to heart, you're going to attract that capital.
100%. I literally had this conversation with somebody this past weekend in Orlando. When you start going to these events too, you start seeing a lot of the same people. So going back to consistency, when you start seeing people at these events and you see that they show up the same way and you have similar conversations, that builds confidence, that builds trust. So this gentleman, he's a securities attorney. When I'd seen him, this was probably third or fourth time I've seen him at an event, not knowing that we were each going to be there. And then you see him, it's like, hey, how's it going? And you catch up. We ended up chatting for about an hour. And when I go to networking events, I like to network. I like to meet new people. And both he and I agreed that we would rather have a 1 hour, high caliber, high quality conversation, getting to know each other heart to heart, than 10 superficial, how many doors do you have? How much capital have you raised? And when you go to enough of these events, you start picking up on that right away. And I've had to learn to excuse myself from conversations sooner than later. If I know that it's not going to be a good fit or the connection's just not there, I'll excuse myself. Have there been any situations where you've had to experience that yourself? And if so, how did you overcome that?
That's a great question. Just recently in Houston, I was speaking at a Capital conference, and I tailored my conversation around Who Moved My Cheese, the book.
Excellent book.
Who moved my capital? Because the capital's been moving, and it used to be able to find a lot of capital for the multifamily space. Now I'm finding more capital for the self-storage or the mobile home parks or the triple net leasing. So it's like you have to go find where the investors are moving their capital. And as an investor myself, I'm figuring out places to park my capital for cash flow also. So I just started to do that. So I literally was speaking on the stage about when you speak to the investor, you have to get on their side of the fence, like we shared at the beginning, find out what's in it for them or what they're looking for. So then we can bring them what they need. I get off the stage, no joke. I'm in the restroom. I finish using the restroom, washing my hands. Guy comes up to me and goes, I'll give you 50% of my GP if you could raise the last $2 million for me. And I go, oh, hi, my name's Mike Guthrie. And he just looked at me and I go, were you just in the room? And he goes, yeah, but you're so good at this. He goes, I figured no problem. You could raise the $2 million. And I go, you don't even know my name. You don't even know what I need or what I'm looking for. And I go, thank you. I go, but I wish you best of luck. And I just walked away.
Wow.
But that literally happened to me. And I was just like, did you not listen to anything I just said? You could have come up and said, hey, Mike, I might have an opportunity. Are you in the market for something? Are you looking to do a deal? Are you looking to raise capital? Or where are you at right now in your cycle? Nothing. It was like, I have this great deal, raise my last $2 million, and I'll give you 50% of my GP. I don't even know who you are. And I'm going to put my investors in your network? Are you kidding me? I was so turned off by that whole thing, but it happens all the time.
Why do you think that is?
People get into this business to raise capital and they think it's going to be easy, and then they find out it's not. So then they're desperate, and then desperation creates an urgency that's felt salesy, and salesy never brings in capital. And so they get themselves out over their skis with their commitments. They get into a deal, they've got hard money locked up, and now they're just desperate to figure out how to make that capital happen. So now they're willing to give away the ranch to get somebody else to come in and do the job they thought they could do, as opposed to just taking their time, nurturing their own audience, and going slower. People think this is a race. This is a marathon, and you need to take your time and you need to work it out. And like you said on your first raise, you were working really hard to raise $500,000 or however much that was. I was lucky. Trust me. I've heard a couple other stories that are similar, but out of everybody I talk to, your story is more consistent with what I hear. I was lucky. I'm very lucky to have done what I've done. So you just got to take your time, and it's nurture and trust and seat time. And when I say seat time, you got to be in the seat, creating content, sharing your values, sharing what's important to you. And then the people that come alongside you are attracted to you, and that's how you attract the capital. He's trying to raise capital. You and I are trying to attract the capital.
You took the words out of my mouth. Like, that right there is a perfect example of raising and attracting. So what have you found to be one of the best ways to share what you're doing and get that in front of these types of investors?
Create content around pain points in people's lives. Why the 401k is good for the manager of the 401k, but not the investor in the 401k. Why is the self-directed IRA a good opportunity to grow your net worth while you're younger? Because you can grow it tax-free. But at the same time, taxes are never going to be cheaper than they are today. I know the new administration that's coming on may lower taxes, but the one after that may not. And all I know is that taxes always tend to go up, not down. And there's always going to be a basement of where they're going to be. So I don't like the IRA play myself. I didn't like the 1031 exchange program either. I thought my accountant said, don't do a 1031 exchange. He goes, just bite the bullet and pay the taxes, because they're never going to be cheaper than they are today, and just start flowing forward and just doing it that way. So you want to talk about and share content around people's pain points and what they're going through in their own life. Are you looking for mailbox money? Did you just have did you just retire and your 401k is going to give you what, 3%? Do you want to make 10%? There's people locally that are raising funds and they're paying an 8% coupon, a 10% coupon monthly. Not 10%, it's annualized, but it's a monthly payout. And people need cash to live on. So you have,
and they want that. They want that certainty.
And they want the certainty of it. Let somebody else do the investing and worry about making that money. But if they have a track record and they've been doing this long enough, there's places out there to park your money where you can make more than 4 or 5%. And the pain point is 5% isn't keeping up with inflation. These artificial 2% inflation numbers are artificial for a reason. So then they could lower rates or do some other things. But it's it's squeezing the market down. So you have to talk about what other people's pain points are. And then when you share that content out there to the public, you say, if you'd like more information, like to get to know me more, shoot me a private message and let's jump on a phone call.
And what's been your experience, or I should say preference, between social media or email, or your delivery method?
Delivery method, even though I do email and I do social, the best place to deliver is person to person at other conferences where people like me are not. So I don't
say that again.
I go to conferences where there are a room full of investors that are not like me. They're not here to raise capital. They're here to figure out how to invest and where to invest. So I like to go to doctors' conferences, CPA conferences, other industry conferences, and talk about retirement and growing their income while they continue to work their W-2. A lot of people that are like you and I show up at these real estate conferences where there's a room full of 1,000 of us, and they think for some reason they are going to be the diamond in the rough that raises $10 million in the room full of capital raisers. I've raised a lot of money in the same room as other capital raisers because I do it one person at a time and create relationships. Like I raised on 6 different deals with this one group, and like, how do you raise more money in the group that I've been in for 10 years and you've been in for 2? And I go, they know my name. They know about my family, and I know their name, and I know their family, and I know what they're looking for. So to me, they're not just another business card. They're another person, another human being. And people get lost in that.
I've legit been to conferences like you're talking about. Well, one, side thought on that. It's harder to stick out when you're going to a conference and other people there are trying to raise capital in the same space. You blend right in. You go to these doctors' conferences, you go to these CPA. Now it's easier to set yourself apart and brand yourself as that thought leader in that specific investment opportunity.
Correct.
And so finding ways like the real estate conferences, I think it's great for education. I think it's great to connect with potential partners, maybe not so much passive investors, but partners. All the ones that we invest capital with, we met at these conferences. You and I have a lot of mutual connections because of these conferences, and that's actually what led to this conversation today. So I think that's a great way to build trust, build and find potential partners, but get creative and get personal with it. So I love that you share that, because I do believe capital is raised one-on-one in a personal way. Now, there are ways to notify people of what you're up to, and that's where a lot of people will turn to social media. They'll turn to email nurturing. Is there one that you feel like works better than the other? Do you use them both about the same?
For connecting and telling people what we're up to, email is a great way to stay in front of somebody consistently, that you can set it and forget it. You can create your content and set up a whole nurture. So something's going out once every month or once every 3 weeks or whatever. And then you get people into a rhythm of expecting to get more information from you so that you can share that. Another way I really like to get in front of people is video texting. And the reason I love that is because it's a one-way thought communication between you and I, and you don't have to pick up the phone. If I pick up the phone and call you, instead of that 1-minute recording, it could be a 12-minute, 15-minute phone call, because it's the niceties. Hi, how are you? How's the weather? Blah, blah, blah. What are you up to? What are you looking for? Here, hey, I'm just checking in to see if there's anything you need from me in regards to the investments you're in. If you need any more information, just click send below, said call me, and tell me what time, and we'll jump on a call. And if you're good, we're good. But they also know that I'm thinking about them on a quarterly basis and staying in front of them, because I don't want to just call them or reach out to them when I have a need. Like right now, I'm getting ready to raise on an opportunity. Did I just send them first email yesterday? No, I've been emailing them for the last 24 months when we haven't been raising, and letting them know that we're looking at opportunities, but until we find the right one for us and what we believe would be the right one for them, we're not just raising for the sheer fact of raising money.
What you shared is when people ask me, like, what's the best way to connect with people one-on-one, that video message is always my go-to. And I call it a 30-second selfie video.
100%.
It literally takes 30 seconds. And when that person receives it, they can watch it on their own time. Mm-hmm. They don't have to respond. We're all busy. We're all trying to figure life out. We're all trying to figure out what we want to be when we grow up, right? So when you can send that video, even though it's only 30 seconds of your time, they realize that you thought about them. And that 30-second video, 60-second video goes such a long ways. And this process you were talking, there is a process to raising capital. There is a system. And for those listening, that's exactly what we do at Capitalist Pro, is we help people set up that system with those nurturing campaigns. So if you're listening to this and you don't have a system in place, we're actually doing some workshops on this. So I'll throw this in real quick. Just text money, MONEY, money to 623-624-1190. And then you'll get a link from our system, from our process to register for a webinar where we'll dive even more into depth of really cool tools that people can use to help raise more capital. One thing that I like about the email list is that you control it. And I heard this a couple years back, listening to another podcast. Somebody well-known, not in real estate, some other business, they said that they don't build their business on leased real estate. And what they were referring to was Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Although you can boost posts, you can sponsor stuff, you don't control that algorithm. You really have no idea who's seeing it, and it's hard to be consistent to get in front of the same people. So our approach, we like getting content out there so people know us. We like to be consistent and then provide value in exchange for their information. Get their name, email, phone number. And now you have them in your email nurturing system and where you continue to provide value. And you said something earlier, just a few minutes ago, you don't want to be that person that anytime they hear from you, you're asking for money.
Correct.
I got 4 little kids. If the only time they talk to me is when they were asking for something, I probably wouldn't have the relationship with them that I have today. There's so much more to relationship building. So for those that are looking to actively raise capital, I can't stress this enough. Don't be that person that the only time they hear from you is when you're asking for money.
Absolutely. And you just hit on a big one that I do. There's a number of other people that do. I'll post stuff out on the web and I'll say, if you have a problem or you are looking, you have questions in regards to a multifamily asset, a triple net, a storage, a mobile home park or something like that, or lending question, insurance question, you have any need that I may be able to help guide you or give you an answer to, reach out to me, DM me. I'm happy to answer any question you have. And there's no fee, there's no nothing. It's just, and it creates an opportunity to form a relationship. And once you start to form that relationship, you gather that information, just like you said, and you move it offline, because everything that's online can change. Mm-hmm. But as soon as you get their personal information, get it offline into your CRM or your Go High Level or the system that you're using, Capitalist Raising, and now you own that relationship. Mm-hmm. It's no longer owned by Instagram, Google, or whoever else is out there doing the social media piece.
Yeah, you have control of it.
You control it,
and that's really what it comes down to. Well, Michael, this has been incredible. We've talked about a lot of great things. In your experience, as we wrap this up, what would you say has been the biggest lesson that you've learned when it comes to raising capital?
There's a number, but I'm gonna go with the one that I believe is the most important. Is you never say no for anyone. So if you look in your phone book on your phone and you start to text people on your first capital raise to say, this is what we're doing, come alongside me, do not, I'm warning you, do not skip a name. I was tempted to say that person has no money or the first person I almost skipped on my very first deal put $500,000 in it. And I had no idea. And what happened? The next 5 deals in a row, $500,000 on each deal. They had more money than I had any clue.
Millionaire next door type of person.
Exactly. And I almost said no for them. If I'd have said no for them on the first deal, I'd have missed out on almost $3 million of investment. That's huge.
It's insane. Paul, I don't know if you remember when we first started raising, we had this exact same conversation. And what we decided as a team is we realized like we can't rule anyone out. Like there's literally the people that I least suspected. I'm like, what does that hurt? The worst they can say is no, right? 50K, 100K, repeating. And it's like, holy cow.
Yeah.
So just ask.
Yeah.
Just ask. And I would rather not ask and fight. And if you have that trust, if you have that relationship with them, it can be a simple invite like that initial text that you shared with us at the start of this.
Yep.
You're like, hey, raise your hand. If you're interested, let me know. And I can share more info. And that in itself lets people know that you're thinking about them.
Exactly.
As well. So awesome. Michael, how can our listeners get to know more about you?
You can call. You can text me. It's better to text first. My phone number is 509-270-6701, 509-270-6701, or go to pacificcapitalllc.com to our website. Check out what we're up to, and we'll see you soon. I'm on all the socials.
That's a bold move, giving your number out there. But if you haven't gotten anything else from Michael from this interview, like that shouldn't surprise you. That shouldn't surprise you that you did that. So absolutely incredible. Thank you for sharing your wealth of knowledge. And look, Michael and I are both based here in the Phoenix area. You're in Scottsdale. I'm in Mesa. And I feel a capital raising event brewing in the air.
Absolutely.
I think we can get something going here.
And here's something you want to remember as a capital raiser. It's always the one thing that you always want to be. And I did this in 23, 24, and I'm going to do it again in 25. 2 words: be available. Because the investors always need to get a hold of you. And so we want to be available. I have friends that are raised hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're friends, and I text them. I can't get a hold of them. Be available, and the money will find you.
Love it. Well said. Awesome, folks. Well, thanks for tuning in to the Capital Flow podcast. Had this excellent time with Michael Guthrie. Tune in for more episodes and look him up, connect with him. He puts out a lot of great content. And thank you again, Michael, for taking time to come down.
Anytime.